Hello, I'm Nan Simonsen, and well, I'm the author of Aging Powerfully and What My Point Is, What My Mission Is. And I wrote this just before turning 70 and stated the mission in it is to help people understand that I was about to turn 70. I'm now 73 and a half, about to turn 74, that we have decades ahead of us beyond this, I'll call it decade that people think is probably our last. It doesn't work that way. We have the ability to choose health, and we have the ability to make decisions that will forestall or prevent our ever getting things, even like cardiovascular disease, which is the #1 killer, well, in America and actually in most of the Western world. So today's presentation, and I do PowerPoints presentation, PowerPoints of interest as they relate to lifestyle as medicine. I'm a health and wellness coach. Oh, I'm going to brag to the group that's behind the scenes because we are actually at a meeting, a Zoom meeting, and I'm taking time to record this, is that I just qualified. I just got my email yesterday telling me that I passed this grueling 5-hour exam that took me 6 months to prepare for, and I am now a nationally board certified health and wellness coach. Yahoo! So I'm a nationally board certified health and wellness coach, and my job at a lifestyle medical clinic is to do support groups. Well, this is a group that I do away from the clinic, and we talk about lifestyle as medicine, but also anything that's on our mind. So we'll be getting back to that. Today's PowerPoint subject is Dr. Goldner's, Dr. Brook Goldner's protocol and its application. Now, what is that about? In case you don't know who she is, Dr. Brook Goldner is a physician. She's an MD. She's also a psychiatrist. She's also a trauma specialist who had lupus from the time she was 16 for, I believe it's 17 years. She, in spite of that, in spite of being on, I believe it was 2 years of continual chemotherapy and experimental protocol to keep her in remission, put her in remission, not cure it, but put her in remission, rather than ending up, as they said she would otherwise, on dialysis within 6 months. She went through high school and she went through college with lupus that then came back in full force, and she was pretty sick. She met somebody in college she fell in love with. His name is Thomas Padlock, and he was a celebrity coach, a bodybuilder coach, to get celebrities ready for events, be it presentations or movies that they were getting ready for, and he could get them buffed up and healthy very, very quickly. Well, he put her on his protocol, and his protocol at the time included meat, but she had been a vegetarian for a long time, but she was eating a lot of cheese and milk. He said, off the cheese, off the milk, off the eggs, and I'll give you the rest of my protocol, which was heavy vegetables, heavy fruit, and no meat, even though at the time he was doing that, he has since taken that off his protocol, and now it's nothing but protein from plant sources. And they got married. She slimmed down. She got very strong and buff. And they suddenly realized she didn't seem to have lupus symptoms. She was tested and her lupus was gone. In other words, the antibodies were all gone. And 4-5 years into this, they realized this is real. It hasn't come back, because then she got pregnant, had a baby, she had another baby years after that. But with the first baby, they realized, okay, there's something here. And they promoted their program. Okay, that was going to be a short synopsis. I guess it was about as short as I could make it. Well, she went on to write Goodbye Lupus, the book that details the way she cared for herself to cure lupus, which was supposed to be impossible. Then she wrote, and this was in, I believe, 2017, in 20, I think it's 19, she wrote Goodbye Autoimmune, because what she found while she was helping people with this protocol, and this book kind of nails it. It's as if she's writing on a chalkboard and then scratching off everything that was no longer something that was incurable. Rheumatoid arthritis, scleroderma, chronic pain, lupus, multiple sclerosis, chronic fatigue, Sjogren's, Hashimoto's, mixed connective tissue disease, and all through her protocol. So this book is that protocol, but it's more, because she also realized that when a person applied lifestyle changes, getting enough sleep, stress management, getting past early childhood um, uh, events that haunted people throughout their life, emotional, mental, as well as physical maladies they work on in that book. And she found that she could cure people of many things that were possible. Some were not, but a lot of what physicians would say that's incurable, even macular degeneration, she has been able to reverse. Multiple sclerosis, she has been able to reverse or stop the progression of. So I became interested in her again. This book I've had since it, no, not since it came out, but I went whole food plant-based in 2019, well, actually 2018, the fall of 2018. The book was written in 2017. So I picked this up, learned about her smoothies. Actually, I realized when I picked it up again, I did what I do a lot in any book that I have, and I make marks and I make stars and I bracket things, and it was all over that book. So I had forgotten that I really paid a lot of attention to her smoothies, but then I morphed away from it to oats and berries and just on and on and on to other healthy foods. I've been whole food plant-based now for 6 years. And I still, though, have a thing, even though I'm healthy and I feel well, and I have a little bit of stiffness in this hand, which tells me when am either overly tired or overly stressed or eaten something that I shouldn't have, like gluten. It will get even stiffer. I have had in my labs, well, since 2016, I knew about it anyway, when I went to True North, a fasting center, not to fast, but to learn how to go whole food, plant-based, no oil, sugar, or salt, because that's what they do. And it's a healing place. And I went there for 10 days to not even heal as much as to learn, to be educated. Well, they took a lot of labs, and it was the first time, I believe, that I'd ever had a sed rate taken. That's a general inflammation marker. It should be 30 or under, preferably in the 20s, but no more than 30. Mine was almost 90. And the antibodies of a number of what would be autoimmune diseases were noted, including thyroid, there's thyroid peroxidase and there's thyroid globulin. My thyroid globulin was high. It's been high for 6 years now, which it ties in with Hashimoto's, but that means I still have active Hashimoto's, even though it's been mitigated in terms of effects because I take thyroid medicine, something called levothyroxine, Synthroid. And I have rheumatoid arthritis antibodies, which only flare up in little ways. I credit my whole food plant-based diet to keeping me very healthy in spite of these inflammatory markers. But when I was at a health and wellness spa with Chef AJ and Dr. Goldhammer, who founded True North, and I mentioned these antibodies, he said, you know, we could fix that with fasting. And I was thinking, okay, I now would like to know that I'm not only well, but well deep inside, that there's not little kindling that's burning in the background, because there's only so long something can, I'll say, inflame a system before that system's going to ignite somewhere. And I have a lot of, well, my mother and brother, 1 year older brother, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. We've got cancers. We have early death from cardiovascular disease. And I thought, you know what? Let's see if I can do something about this. I was thinking I'm going to fast. And then somebody or something brought Brook Goldner, Dr. Goldner, to the forefront of my mind. And her, I think I saw something that she had just recently done with Chef AJ. And I thought, ah, fast or eat? Fast or eat? I think I'll eat first before I fast, and try her protocol. And that's what this is all about. She has enough information free online, classes, multiple a week, YouTube video. She's on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Most of her content is free, and yet when you buy her time and to have her personally in a group, there was nothing that there's one coming up in October. I'm going to be at Plantrition, which is a plant-based medical conference during that October one, and I don't want to wait. So I decided to come home and start it. And I just started. It's been day 9 now that I'm on her protocol. I'm not going to go into what that protocol is, except that there are 3 main components. Hydration, at least 96 ounces of water a day. And the reasoning for that, even though it means you're at the visiting your restroom constantly, is because whatever is, I'm going to say this in layman's term, loosened, whatever needs to be washed, whatever needs to be hydrated, including brain cells, can only do that if you have lots of water. So hydration. The other one is no processed foods, but the exchange for that is instead massive amounts of anti-inflammatory foods, and those are vegetables. Fruits are healthy. They're not necessarily anti-inflammatory. Vegetables, especially cruciferous vegetables, are highly anti-inflammatory. No meat product goes along with that as well. And the other is an infusion of omega-3 fatty acids. Some people say, and I have people write me on my YouTube channel, Nan Simonsen YouTube is where I put most of my content, and write me and say, well, why no oil, Nan? Well, for one thing, it's highly calorically dense. This much, that much oil is equivalent to that much broccoli or that many tomatoes or that many apples I like to eat, rather than have something that I wouldn't even notice was missing. And people don't notice it's missing in my cooking. So no oil. But there's another reason. Except for olive oil, which is primarily an omega-9 fatty acid, it's not inflammatory, it's not anti-inflammatory. And it has some polyphenols, but you can get that from olives. Except for the olive oil and coconut oil, but that's highly saturated. Almost all of the oils, the seed oils and even nut oils, are very high on omega-6s. Omega-6 fats, or fatty acids, are inflammatory. in excess, and they're in everything. They're in processed foods, they're in the seed oils, sesame seeds, the enormous amount of omega-6 fatty acids, for example, in sesame seeds, as opposed to omega-3s, a little bit of omega-3, massive amount of omega-6. I won't be using huge amounts of tahini anymore, knowing that. But that's not the point here. The point here is that we're looking at no oils because they're so full of omega-6s, and we're trying to raise the number, the amount of omega-3s. We're trying to wash our body, wash our brain with anti-inflammatory omega-3s. Where do they come from? And it's kind of interesting. I shouldn't even bring this up because you're going to ask for the resource, and I'm not even sure where the resource came from. But I have this chart that I got that shows omega-6s, omega-3s, and omega-6 to 3 ratio on foods, on, for example, root vegetables, on meat, on green leafy vegetables, on seeds, etc., etc. And what we're aiming for is a low first number, which is omega-6s, and a high omega-3. Very few things are higher in omega-3s than 6s. Interesting, turnips are to 1 omega-6, 3 omega-3s. Would never have guessed that. Arugula is high. Most leafy greens are twice as much in terms of omega-3s, but you know where you really get them, and this is my point. Chia seeds, 1 to 3 for chia seeds, flax seeds, 1 to 3.9. Those are the only seed products, and actually the only thing that you can use a lot of that she has seen will build the omega-3s. Now, the omega-6s are also, as well as omega-3s, broken down by an enzyme. She teaches a class on this. She even gives the name of the enzyme. I don't remember it. She said it's not important, and at this point, I don't remember it. But that enzyme is preferential to the 6s, not the 3s. So you cut processed foods full of omega-6s. That's a great reason right there to not have processed foods. You cut out the animal products, you cut out the seed oils, you pull those 6s way down so that the omega-3s, those anti-inflammatory fatty acids, have a chance to do their work. That's her protocol. Massive amounts of water, massive amounts of vegetables and some fruit raw. So in other words, this is a high raw vegan protocol. Funny thing is, I started and never thought that. I just thought, okay, I'll have my smoothies, and I'll mention smoothies in a minute. Okay, I'll have my salads. Okay, I'll have the seeds, the flax and the chia seeds. And all of a sudden it dawned on me, wait a minute, I never wanted to be a raw vegan. And here it is. But this protocol she has shown has helped thousands of people. She's not promoting this that way. It's simply a fact. You look at any one of her events online, and the people will write her, I had this malady, I had that malady, I had this within 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 1 month, 2 months. They are gone with your protocol. So I decided, boy, there's a lot of chatter here, sorry. I decided that this was what I was going to do. I'm going to do her protocol for 6 weeks. And then we go on a vacation, and it's just too hard to do it that way, even though not impossible. And I'm going to do it in order to see what I can do, and I'll extend it if I see that it's made a difference, see what I can do to bring the SED rate back to normal, and to get rid of my RA and meaning the rheumatoid arthritis and the thyroid antibodies. Then I'll know I not only feel well, I'm not only healthy because my whole food plant-based lifestyle with the pillars of lifestyle, meaning enough sleep, enough movement, community, movement, Did I say that? Food, movement, community, and rest and relaxation and sleep. So I'm healthy because of that, but there was that fire and I want to put it out. So that's where I'm coming from. So when I say to you, again, that title, Dr. Goldner's protocol and its application, value is that we can, many of us, many of you, can turn around things that you have been told by doctors are impossible to touch. Well, in her case, like lupus, she is an evangelist about this because, as she said, I shouldn't be here. And person after person that she works with will say the same thing. And the protocol being those three simple things, the water, the omega-3 fatty acids, and the whole raw foods. Why that combination? Because they work together more than anything else that she could put together to, as quickly as possible, because we could add other foods, but it would slow it down, as quickly as possible, get those, whatever it is that we're trying to get mediated, taken care of. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do as quickly as possible. So if somebody were interested in looking into this, I would say to first get Goodbye Lupus. It's a thin book, and read that. Maybe, you know what, forget that. Maybe first just find her online. Go to Smoothie Shred, SMOOTHIE, and I'll put it on my description, Shred, SHRED.com. Somebody she says some guy, but she says there's a chicken on the, chicken meat shown on the photo, has copied that moniker as well as putting a picture of her and is faking her site. So if it doesn't look like her, then you're at the wrong site, but smoothieshred.com. And again, I'll post that on my description. But watch her. That's what I started with. I watched her interviewed by Chef AJ. I watched her interviewed by, I don't know, a number of people. And then I just started watching her question and answer sessions. All very interesting. She is so knowledgeable. But again, her books are Goodbye Lupus, The Full Picture of Recovery with Goodbye Autoimmune, and then Thomas Padlock, who she credits as her savior, because if it weren't for his miracle metabolism, what he was teaching is, with the foods that I'm offering to teach you to use to build strength, to shred down, get shredded, shredded. That food that she incorporated and got the meat out because she was already vegetarian, he accommodated that, is what saved her life. And they've refined it and refined it. And he's written his book, Miracle Metabolism. And I believe he wrote this also in 2017. So they were both writing their books. A lot of information, and here's some recipes, but I just got last week Goodbye Lupus, Hello Delicious, which is her recipe book, many of the recipes of which are coming from people who did her protocol, some of which she is contributing. As she says, I'm no cook, I'm no chef. I keep it simple at home. I have what she does, and that's what I want to end with. And I am doing what she does. When he healed her, just to get her thin, because she wanted it for their wedding in Hawaii, she went from size 11 to 3 in a couple of months, and got really super buff using his protocol. It was for nothing but weight loss and getting fit. Had no idea it would be for anything else. They did it they even had tofu in the mix. They had other foods in the mix, but it was always plant-based, and it was very heavily raw vegetables. He even says in there 60% raw. Well, that's not his book, but 60% raw, whereas I right now, and on her fast protocol, it's 100% raw. She, as she said, didn't ever think of smoothies. Nobody was thinking of smoothies, at least back then. That was quite a while ago. And she ate it all. They just chopped things up and she ate it. She said, I would go for days just dipping broccoli or cauliflower or a vegetable in guacamole, because that's the other thing. You can have the fat in guacamole. That's a fine fat. You can have the fat in flax oil. I just had a salad today made out of some lemon juice, some lime juice, some seasonings, and flax oil. Interesting. And that's how she nourished herself into wellness. And then they discovered or thought, you know what, there might be another way. Let's just blend it all and see what we can end up with. And that's where this whole smoothie thing with them began. And I like that. I make a huge, and there's the way I do it. You can see my video on YouTube, Nan Simonsen, and I believe I call it Dr. Goldner's yummy and healthful smoothie, because I saw her on 2 videos do this smoothie just the way I did it, with the fruits that I did, and she surprised me because she packed down the greens, 3/4 of the carafe, packed down greens. I use half spinach, half kale. And then she put the fruit in such a way that it was actually bowing over the top, and filled it with water to up to about, just below the top of the greens, and packed down the cover. I thought, that's not going to work. Well, it did. It worked just fine, but I end up with a lot more than just the 64 ounces that is noted on the carafe. And I drink it all day long. That's my breakfast. That's later in the morning. That will be later in the afternoon. And that will be part of my dinner, because it's packed with the greens and a half a cup of chia, half a cup of flax. And then I also have the salads as well. So I think that's all I want to say. I feel that there's so much more I could say, but I'm going to let you do what I did. I did a bit of a deep dive. I've given you enough to, I hope, whet your appetite for this information, and follow her on YouTube. I'll put the information on that. I haven't even looked at her at Instagram. She has a smoothie shred presence on Facebook that's very active. People are sharing recipes all the time, and so I'll put that on there as well. And that's all I have to say. I hope this was helpful. I hope you're inspired if you have a thing like I had a thing that I just didn't want to own anymore. At least I wanted to try to say goodbye to something I don't want in my body, even though I think, it's not making any difference. Eventually it will. And I like taking action. So you may want to take action with me. And I hope you enjoyed this. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and have a great day. I know I'm going to. Bye-bye.